Hello and welcome to Agenda 2030. I am Toyin Nkamiang John. In the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, parliamentary support is a fundamental requirement. It was against this background, Nigeria, in providing the institutional framework for the goals, constituted two standing committees in the National Assembly. In addition to this, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, also appointed Honorable Shehu Saleh Hassan as an advisor on the SDGs. In today's episode, we will be bringing to you an interview with Honorable Shehu Saleh Hassan. That will be right after this break with Adesua on the news in brief. Do stay with us.
It has been estimated that Africa has a huge, yet to be cultivated arable land. Ironically, the continent also leads the world in terms of number of children suffering from acute malnutrition. Yet, it has been generally agreed that food security and nutrition are at the center of human capital development and are inextricably connected to the total development of the human being. The recent move by the African Development Bank to invest $14 million in the Sierra Leone's agricultural sector is therefore seen as an important contribution to efforts to enhance nutrition of the citizens as well as economic and infrastructural development of the country. The investment is expected to help implement innovations in agriculture, tackle corruption in fertilizer distribution, seeds acquisition and distributions to farmers, as well as scale up nutrition and defeat stunting in children in line with Goals 1, 2, and 3 of 2030 Agenda. Dubai is now home to the world's largest 3D printed building. The building, which is an office for Dubai's Innovation Center, was constructed with 50% less manpower and 60% less construction waste, with total cost of about 70% in the entire cost of the building. Dubai aims to become a leading global hub for 3D printing and is aiming to print 25% of every new building in the United Arab Emirates by 2030 using 3D printing technology. This would cut down on waste as well as environmental pollution. This is reducing the use of cement, which is responsible for 8% of the world's carbon emissions, and concrete, which accounts for 9% of all industrial water waste. The Lagos state government said its new Eco-City Farmers Market initiative is expected to help achieve 6 of the 17 SDGs: no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, decent work, economic growth, as well as responsible consumption and production. The initiative, according to the state's Ministry of Agriculture, will help rebuild food economy in the state by providing a cost-effective retail sales prospect for local food producers in Lagos and across the southwest region. The initiative seeks to upgrade the agricultural supply value chain in the state by upscaling the target of farm produce from 18% to 40%, boosting food sufficiency as well as bridging the increasing demand of teeming consumers using traditional and innovative development methods. The market will provide Lagosians access to a wide variety of fresh, local and in-season farm products directly from the producers, according to the Ministry of Agriculture. Environmentalists have been raising alarm on the dangers of rapid growth in populations, intense farming, and climate change to the world's water supplies. To help tackle some of these concerns, a British startup, Seawater Solutions, is teaching farmers in water-short zones how to grow crops using seawater and how to turn low-value land into a source of food and income in a sustainable and eco-friendly manner. The farming method relies on use of pumps powered by renewable or wind energy for pumping of seawater for the irrigation of salt-tolerant crops. The crops have low carbon and are sold locally, cutting down food miles. The company is also helping cultivate barren land in Vietnam, while Bangladesh, Senegal, and Sri Lanka are in the line for future projects.
On the 26th of September this year, key stakeholders from across the world will be gathering at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos for the Global Citizen Festival. The Global Citizen is an international organization dedicated to ending extreme poverty around the world by 2030. The organization has since 2009 taken over 22.2 million actions globally to tackle the world's biggest development challenges. Agenda 2030 team recently spoke with the vice chairman of the organization, Aiboji Ike Imokwede, after he paid a courtesy call on the senior special assistant to the president on SDGs. He spoke on the idea behind the planned Global Citizen Festival in Lagos. Hear him.
It's going to be an all-day festival of music, of commitment, of passion to eradicate poverty by 2030 around the world, but of course starting with Nigeria. And we believe that Nigeria and indeed Africa will benefit so much from this convening. It will be an opportunity for us to call attention to many of the social issues which are captured in the SDGs that bedevil our nation and give us an opportunity to come together as one, to really tackle these issues. We do expect that the federal government and the Lagos state government will play a very key role in ensuring that the thousands of visitors who will include very senior statesmen in politics, people from the business world, of course, entertainers and musical performers, and then of course global citizens from all over the world who will come to be part of the festival. We have to make sure that their security is well taken care of. We have to make sure that Nigeria's hospitality is shown at its very best, and by God's grace we will have a fantastic festival. Lagos, Nigeria is actually the centerpiece event of what is a multi-city simultaneous live cast event. It has been described as the biggest or the largest and most ambitious single broadcast event taking place simultaneously in the world. And it's such a great day that Nigeria is at the centerpiece of it. Well, the message that we have consistently sent around Nigeria is that this is a very inclusive process. Indeed, global citizens tend to be ordinary people like you and me who have a passion for the issues that we are trying to tackle around the SDGs. I noticed that all 17 of them, are stated here: health, education, clean water, gender issues, and so on. And as we know, these are very real, live challenges that Nigeria faces. So it's an opportunity for any Nigerian who wants to make a difference to connect with the global citizens movement, to pick one of the SDGs that you want to make a contribution on, however small or however large, and we will help you. We will help you with networking. We will help you with connecting with other minded individuals and organizations. And then, of course, most importantly, it's impossible to make change, without funding. And one of the things that the Global Citizens Movement is able to do is call government, call philanthropists and multilateral institutions to action, to really, commit significant funding to support the global goals. And I believe that Nigeria's hosting of the Global Goals Live Central event, will be an opportunity to mobilize significant sums of money.
Let's join my colleague Desmond Utonwe in the interview with Honorable Shehu Saleh Hassan, the Special Advisor on SDGs to the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Yeah, thank you for staying with us. It's yet another moment on Agenda 2030. And today we'll be talking to a former member of the House of Representatives who currently is the Special Advisor to the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives on Sustainable Development Goals. His name is Honorable Shehu Saleh Hassan. He'll be talking to us about what the House is doing and by extension what the Speaker is doing with regards to the implementation of the SDGs. Honorable Shehu Saleh Hassan, you're welcome, sir.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, you're the first person that has been appointed as the Special Advisor to the Honorable Speaker on SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Even though we had what we call MDGs previously, I'm not sure anybody was ever appointed in that capacity. What would you say informed the decision by the Honorable Speaker?
I think it's two reasons, two or three. But by far the most important is Mr. Speaker's understanding and empathy that Nigeria, not only Nigeria, but globally, but particularly Nigeria, we need to attain the Sustainable Development Goals for some reasons. And you know very well that Mr. Speakers believe in equality, not only equality before the law, equality in access to social provisions, public services, as well as private services. The underlying objectives of the Sustainable Development Goals, you know them. And you know the cardinal objective or theme of the Sustainable Development Goals is to ensure that inequality is reduced to the barest minimum or eradicated. In other words, is to ensure that every single Nigerian, every single global citizen is given the equal opportunity to thrive, to find their purposes in life, to attain to the best they can from education, healthcare. So equal opportunity is really so wide that people do not understand it. But Mr. Speaker's understanding of our own ability to launch ourselves in the global community, to achieve our social objectives, our economic objectives, as well as our political objectives. There is no option. We have to attain the goals by 2030. And as we all know, this is the decade of action. This is the final decade of the Agenda 2030. And his belief is that whatever it takes, and Nigeria has got everything it takes to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The second reason is it's unprecedented, but because he knows I'm a sustainable development expert. And he thought he should have someone that would advise him on key aspects of sustainable development, which includes the Sustainable Development Goals. And his empathy is so unprecedented. I have not worked with someone whose enthusiasm, whose sense of purpose to launch Nigeria, to provide every single Nigeria, especially the deprived, the children, the women, the vulnerable in society. And not only that, he has appointed someone to advise him on the SDGs. He has on other aspects as well, the people with disabilities. And so this is the person, this is who he is. And we have found a common purpose. He and I have found a common ground. And we talk to ourselves, and he listens. So his empathy is so unprecedented. It's so delighting. You know, it's so encouraging. It encourages me to want to give more to my fatherland. The more he wants to give, the more I want to give him, so we can both together give to Nigerians. And he always says to all his staff, and he has said it particularly to me repeatedly, that you're not working for me, you're working with me.
For Nigerians.
So we work for Nigerians. That's the kind of person he is. And that's why it's so unprecedented. And that is why we're so hopeful that by the special grace of God, we will attain the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030.
Yeah, that's a very good hope for us. It's also believed that we should be on track in trying to give this development to the people. But it's believed that you cannot actually deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals without having some of the legal, financial, and other kind of framework backing it, supporting it. Do you think that we have provided enough legal framework to back up the SDGs implementation in Nigeria?
Personally, no, not yet. And that is probably why Mr. Speaker has called up all over, to the best of my knowledge, at the last count, over 100 bills or laws, those that are either obsolete or are just lying there, or those that need for him to consider and advise his colleagues. Now, let me say one thing that is very, very clear to Nigerians. There is absolutely no dichotomy between the office of the Speaker, the advisor to the Speaker on SDG, and the committee on SDG. We know ourselves. He carefully chose the team. He carefully chose the leadership of the committee and carefully chose the members of the committee. Those who understand what the goals are. Those who really understand what sustainable development
It's all about.
is all about.
Yeah. So, and he's been, maybe you want to share with us some of those bills that he probably is calling up, because we need to be very, very exact with them. We know SDG cuts across almost every sphere of our lives, health, education,
Yes.
poverty reduction, inequality you spoke about.
Yes.
I know the Disability Act
Yes.
bill has been signed into act and all of those things. And he also decided to give some materials to the people living with disability recently. Just share with us some of those key bills that he's so passionate about, and he's looking forward to see to their passage and probably signing into act during his tenure as a speaker.
Now, one of the key bills that I know he's passionate about is the public service reform bill.
Okay.
You see, it's so broad that if you reform the public service, you're actually reforming the ways in which or through which the Sustainable Development Goals will be delivered or attained. That's one of the laws, in my opinion, in my candid opinion, that is really, really important. Another one is the education law. He has introduced sweeping, very significant reforms in the education sector. Of course, people with disabilities. The equality, the gender equality law as well. The Access to Land Use Act.
Okay.
You know, access to land, not only for personal or shelter, but for economic purposes as well. And he understands very clearly these three, and now it is commonly understood, the 4 objectives of sustainable development. The social objective, the economic objective, the environmental objective, and now, as it is, and it should have been, and this has been his position from the word go, on our governance objectives. Now, he understands, and we all understand, that you can't achieve the Sustainable Development Goals without good governance.
Yeah.
Now, good governance includes, but not restricted to public service, including corporate governance, because that is where the bulk. I know the public does not really understand this, but the bulk of corruption that we have, or poor governance, is in the private sector. So governance is probably the most important aspect of sustainable development goals. If you don't have good governance, you can't simply deliver on the goals.
Goal 16 of the Sustainable Development Goals talks about building strong institutions. There also exists peace and justice. And all of these we've had as challenges in Nigeria. What exactly is the House doing? And more specifically, what is the Speaker thinking in line with trying to have government build stronger institutions for both the public and private sector?
Well, strong institutions. Let me say, first of all, the 9th Assembly, under the leadership of the Right Honourable Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, is committed to making our institutions work better. Now, how do we have strong institutions? Yeah. You can enact all the bills in the world. You can make all the laws. You can have the most erudite laws in the world. But your institutions or the laws, if they're not respected or implemented, you will never have strong institutions. And that is why this House, led by the Speaker, and specifically the Speaker believes that, one, our judiciary must be strengthened. The independence of the judiciary is sacrosanct. It's non-negotiable to the Speaker. He believes that. And one of the things that he is trying to achieve now is to achieve independence of the legislature. Now, make no mistake about the independence of the legislature is not restricted to the National Assembly. He has been an advocate, not only an advocate, but an active participant in the reform or in the clamor for the independence of the state houses of assembly or the state legislature. Now, he is also of the view that the fundamental doctrine of separation of powers must be respected and maintained between the three arms of government. Now, make no mistake about that. That does not mean there's no overlap. I think there's a common error that I have found within our people. Now, you will hear that people say government, and then they say judiciary, and government cannot, not only by law, even by natural law, government cannot be constituted or instituted without either of the three arms of government. So the executive is seen as the government because it executes the policies of the government. The legislature makes laws for the good of the country. They enable the executive to execute public policy. The judiciary guards in the implementation and execution of public policy. Now they work hand in hand. So it's the belief of Mr. Speaker that the doctrine of separation of powers must be respected. That means that there shouldn't be undue interference coming from the executive or from the judiciary, or even within from the National Assembly. And he is doing everything he can to see that the public understands, not only the public, but the public servants as well understand the doctrine and the importance of maintaining the separation of powers. That's one. Two, he also believes in the independence of our structure. What do I mean? The independence of the three tiers of government. The independence of the state government, the independence of the federal
and local government.
And the local government. And I remember one of the chats that I have had with Mr. Speaker, and he's so passionate about. He believes that a preponderant majority or a preponderance of it lives in the local communities. So the local authorities must be empowered, strengthened, so they meet the social and economic objectives of the goals. So he believes that the local government should be strengthened, of course, without in any way trying to interfere with the powers of the federal and the states. But we need to see that there's a commonality in all these things. These institutions, these organs of governance, they do not live in isolation. They all need one another if we really must develop our nation or must attain the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030.
Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/FreshNewsTV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. And that has been the size of our program this week. Do keep a date with us again next week as we bring you another refreshing episode. I am Toyin Nkamiang John. Thank you for staying with us.